Hi guys, this is gsno.com and I'm here with the Google Pixel 8 Pro for an unboxing for now and a review very soon. So it's here, sadly not in the beautiful blue version, we have it in the obsidian gray or basically lighter black version, and here it is with a typical hump at the back side and a very potent camera which is not as thick as expected. Okay, so let's fire it up. It's supposed to be our first contact Android 14 in a pure version. Basically this is the Android 14 flagship. Now, this is basically a combination of HTC and Samsung phone. Samsung is providing the CPU, the Tensor is basically an Exynos, which is rebadged, and the team that makes the Pixel is the one bought by Google from HTC, just so you know. So in many ways, this is supposed to be some sort of a HTC revival, if you're really being optimistic. The price is $800 for the Pro version, and we actually bought an extra something. In the box, there's no charger, so we went to Amazon and bought this 30 watts USB-C charger. You can find the link in the description. So yeah, it's the official recommended one from Google, so you'd best buy it if you really want a fast charge. Okay, now we're going to leave the phone in a more quiet mode and see what's inside the box of the Pixel 8 Pro. So a bunch of useful info and manuals, one of the smallest manuals I've ever seen. An adapter from USB-A to USB-C, so you can transfer your old data from the old phone to the new one, and a cable which goes from USB-C to USB-C and hooks up to the charger you just saw before. And that's about it. A pretty small box, probably inspired by the iPhone box. The novelty here, which I haven't seen on other phones, is the fact that we have a temperature sensor here below the flash. You can measure the temperature of objects, human skin, or what have you. And of course, 5 years of Android updates and some smarts, some AI smarts on the device, which I'm going to show you at the end of this unboxing, so stick around. Okay, so first things first. There are three colors to enjoy here. There's blue, black or gray, which is this one, and a beige hue, which is not exactly bad. Pretty beefy at 8.8 millimeters and hefty at 213 grams, but somehow I find it to be quite comfy in my hand. I don't know why. It's the proportions, it's the fact that you can prop your finger up to the visor at the backside, I don't know. Anyway, IP68 certified, Gorilla Glass Victus at the backside, Gorilla Glass Victus 2 at the front side. By the way, it's Gorilla Glass Victus as well, 2 for the front and the back. And this is an aluminum frame, which niftily combines itself with the camera visor for a very elegant look. So yeah, I'm actually enjoying the design, and I find it to be a sort of a tribute for HTC, no matter what anyone says. It's also gently rounded at the back, so it can fit my palm, but not in a huge manner. It's not a very huge slope. Now, as far as the screen is concerned, this is a quality OLED panel, LTPO, so it can drop down to 1 Hz. Resolution is atypical, 2992 over something like 1344 pixels with a 20:9 aspect, and the promise of a huge 2400 nits. Yes, it's a very bright panel, and I'm loving the symmetrical bezels. But by today's standards, the notch at the top side, or rather the cutout, the punch hole, is a bit too wide for my taste. Now, if you want to talk about logistics, the CPU here is a Google Tensor G3 4nm 9-core, Nona-core as they call it. It's supposed to be a sort of a rebadged Exynos which was prepared for Galaxy S23, which only got a Snapdragon this year. This is just rumors. Okay, so we have 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. It can go up to 1 terabyte and it's UFS 3.1. There's no micro SD, obviously. If you want to talk about the battery, it's a 5050 mAh unit with 30 watts wired charging. We also have 23 watt wireless charging and, believe it or not, reverse wireless charging. There are stereo speakers here. There's one at the bottom and there is the top one, which is actually the, well, earpiece, as you know it. Now, there's no audio jack, as you saw for yourself, and as far as connectivity is concerned, this time 5G works. The Pixel 7 Pro had some problems with the 5G in some countries in Europe. Now it works. There's also Wi-Fi 7 and Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.3, GPS dual band. There's GLONASS, Galileo, QZSS, there's NFC obviously, USB-C 3.2 port at the bottom side, and the ultra-wide band. Now, the fingerprint scanner is embedded in the screen. It's of the optical variety, and we also have other sensors like compass, barometer, and the thermometer. So if you want to use the thermometer, there's a special app. It's called thermometer here, object temperature. You can pick the material for an accurate result or just tap to measure. This is basically the temperature of the box. 22 degrees. And now let's try the temperature of my hand. 30 degrees. Okay, quite cold. Try again. 31.5, getting colder. We can also, as I said before, select the type of material you're going to measure. It's a gimmick, but I'm not sure. Google hasn't exactly explained what they're doing here. It's just a gimmick. Now, as far as the camera is concerned, let's switch to a whiter background. This selfie shooter is a 10.5 megapixel cam capable of 4K capture. It has autofocus and it's an ultra-wide camera. It's becoming a trend. I feel that Huawei has made this cool, as well as Honor with their selfie phones, and Vivo too. At the backside, things get a bit more complicated. So there's a main 50 megapixel camera with f1.7 aperture, dual pixel phase detection autofocus, optical image stabilization, and a special multi-zone laser autofocus. Yes, a lot to unpack. Then we obviously have this cool periscope 48 megapixel camera, telephoto, f2.8 aperture, and a useful 5x optical zoom, which is quite quality, and its own autofocus and optical image stabilization. Finally, the third camera is the ultra-wide one, 48 megapixels, and dual pixel phase detection autofocus, helping with your macro needs. There is the dual LED flash here, which is quite potent, and technologies like pixel shift, ultra HDR, best take, and something called HDR video. Yes, HDR video 10-bit is available as well, and the interface is quite curious. First of all, there's a clear separation of photo and video here. So these are the photo options. We have panorama, we have a night sight, we have a photo mode here, we have portrait, we also have long exposure and action pan. And that's just photo, with extra options included here, like night sight with its own sub-options, top shot. There's also timer, macro focus, and more, and the pro section with resolution, JPEG, and the lens selection. But there's also an extra here. You can tweak the brightness, shadow, white balance, focus, shutter speed, and ISO. And then you switch to video with its own options: time-lapse, slow motion, video up to 4K 60, blurred video, and pan video, which is actually quite nice. It slows down the time and lets you enjoy a panned, slow down video. You can tweak the exposure and white balance of your clips, and there are more options here. I swapped to Full HD just to show you that we have three types of stabilization. There's locked, there's standard, and there's active. There's 10-bit HDR, there's the frame rate here, and finally there's macro focus and speech enhancement. As I said, quite a few options available on this handset. Okay, so let's talk about the software. Finally, I know why you're here. You're here for Android 14. Yep, we have it. Finally, Android 14 is available in a stock version with some pixel-specific features. So let's get straight to it. So 5 years of Android updates, 7 years of security updates, and things like call screening, real-time translation, and ultra image editing options. I mean, special image editing options. Okay, so interface itself hasn't changed very much. You can see the widgets here and you'll see many changes. So it looks like Android 13 basically. There's something interesting here. If you start doing something, if you start using an app or a game or anything like that, you're going to notice that some of these apps are shown in the notification area as running in the background. It showed me that YouTube was downloading something at some point. So yeah, pretty interesting. That's in the notification shade. There's extra customization, and I find it to be interesting because it includes generative AI. If you go to the wallpaper, and if you go to the lock screen, for example, you can also have extra options for clock color and size. This is the mole wallpaper. This is the AI wallpaper. These are, once again, generated much like DALL-E and ChatGPT. They're AI-based generative models. So if you input stuff here, you can actually change things here to change the image, you know, yellow, for example, and you can tweak it and get inspired by here, by night, by texture, by X-ray. So you can create your own wallpaper using words with a generative AI. That's just one example. We also have lossless audio when using wired headphones, and yeah, there should also be no support for apps for Android 5.1 or older. Okay, now when it comes to live translation, it's a pretty interesting thing. You can have your text messages translated. You can also have live translation using the camera. And you can also have a special interpreter, which is quite cool. So if you say this, if you trigger Google Assistant, interpreter, Okay, so you speak English, they speak, let's select the language here, for example, French. Comment allez-vous?
How are you?
Est-ce que vous avez préparé le devoir?
Have you prepared the assignment?
Où est l'omelette de fromage?
Where is the cheese omelet?
That's as far as I can do in French, but you get the idea. It's very fast, very snappy, and very accurate, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised by that. And it can do more. So if I'm reading an article for TechCrunch, for example, and I can do something like this, I can have it summarized, or I can have it translated and read to me in another language. So you can do translate and have it read to you in a voice that's calming and soothing and helps you understand the articles, even in a language you don't exactly master. So that's quite cool. Aside from that, if you go to the photos, you can also magically remove objects, and you have possibly the most tools I've seen for editing photos I've seen in recent history. So yeah, let me just find the photo I actually saved here with some extra people. So if you go to the edit, you're going to see the dynamic, enhance, warm, cool, suggestions. There is a crop section, there is a tool section, adjust, filters, markup. So as you guys said before, a lot to play with. Now, if you go to Magic Eraser, the AI will search for things to remove, and you get suggestions. And you can see here some people being highlighted, and I tap on them and they disappear. And that's pretty much what it can do. Just one example of the things you can do using this app and the magic of the AI. And it's just starting up. Samsung is going to include the powerful on-device AI on the Galaxy S24, and I feel like the inspiration comes from Google once again. Okay, so that's about it. This is finally the Google Pixel 8 Pro. We have it here, we unboxed it, and the review is definitely coming. Pretty impressed by the AI and how snappy the pictures are taken and how good the processing is, but we're going to learn more about that in the review. Goodbye for now.